built by ancient aliens, but only humans can harness its power. In the distant reaches of the galaxy, long before humanity had even learned to walk upright, a race of ancient aliens known as the HFY then had achieved a level of technological prowess far beyond anything imaginable. They constructed massive machines and structures, some of which were so advanced that they defied even the most sophisticated of theories about physics. But there was one secret they had kept hidden from the universe, one final creation that could not be used by any species but one, humanity. This creation, known as the Scepter of the Old Ones, was an artifact of immense power. It sat in the heart of a forgotten planet, a place untouched by time, where the last remnants of the XY then civilization had once flourished. The scepter was designed not only to control energy on a planetary scale but also to manipulate the very fabric of space and time itself. For eons, the XY then watched from the shadows, their far-reaching sensors monitoring the rise and fall of countless civilizations. But none ever approached the planet where the scepter was hidden. Every species that came across it, whether they stumbled upon it through exploration or came seeking it out for their own gain, failed to understand its purpose. To the XY then, it was clear, only humans could unlock the scepter's true potential. The reason was as old as humanity itself. Humans were different. Unlike other species, who relied on logic and technology to dominate their environments, humans had something else. They had a relentless will, an unyielding spirit that no other being in the universe could match. It was this unique characteristic that allowed them to unlock the scepter's full capabilities. It all began when a crew of humans, led by Captain Elena Rios, discovered the planet during an expedition to the farthest reaches of known space. The coordinates had been encrypted in an ancient language that only a few had been able to decode, and Elena's crew was among the few to make the journey. They landed on the planet, unaware of the destiny that awaited them. The planet was a barren wasteland, with ruins scattered across the surface, great towers and structures that looked as though they had been built in another age. In the center of it all stood the scepter, a gleaming obelisk made of materials that defied classification. It pulsed with an energy that felt almost alive, humming with power that sent shivers down the spine of anyone who approached it. Elena stepped forward, a deep sense of purpose filling her as she laid a hand on the scepter's surface. The moment her skin made contact, the ground trembled, and a voice, clear, ancient, and resonant, echoed in her mind. "Only you can wield it." The crew looked at one another, confused. They had no idea what the scepter was or why it responded to Elena, but the message was clear. Whatever this artifact was, it was meant for her. The scepter revealed its secrets to her alone. It unlocked the hidden knowledge of the XY then, showing her blueprints for technologies that seemed impossible. But more importantly, it revealed a deep truth: humanity's potential was greater than any other species in the galaxy. The XY then had known this long ago and had designed the scepter to be a gift that would allow humanity to rise beyond the stars and shape the future of the universe. Elena's crew watched in awe as the scepter came to life. It formed a network of energy across the planet, drawing from the very fabric of space-time to create a new energy source, one that could provide limitless power to entire civilizations. The scepter could heal wounds, restore balance to ecosystems, and even influence the fabric of reality itself. However, the scepter had a second purpose, one that only the human spirit could unlock. It was a test to see whether humanity could wield this power responsibly, not for domination, but for the betterment of all life. The XY then had created it to challenge humanity's core values: courage, compassion, and the will to protect. If the humans who found it were worthy, the scepter would unleash its full potential. In the moments that followed, Elena stood in awe as the scepter revealed a vision of the galaxy's future. Entire species, some of them long dead, rose up again, drawn to the promise of hope and renewal. The scepter offered them a chance to create peace, but only if humanity chose to lead with wisdom and restraint. The power of the scepter was now in their hands, but it was clear that their greatest challenge was not how to use it, it was how to choose to use it. The XY then had built the artifact to be wielded by a species that could see beyond the immediate, a species that could hold the weight of such power without becoming corrupted. Elena turned to her crew. They all understood. They had a choice. They could use the scepter to rule the galaxy, or they could use it to guide and uplift. The crew stood united in their decision. Humanity would lead by example, not by force. They would use the power to create harmony, restore balance, and forge alliances with the countless civilizations that awaited guidance. The scepter was not a tool for domination. It was a beacon that could guide all beings toward a future of peace and unity. As the crew activated the scepter, the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. The power of the HFY then surged through them, but it was humanity's heart, its courage, and its unyielding will that truly made the difference. The universe would now look to humanity, not with fear, but with hope. The scepter of the Old Ones had been built by ancient aliens, but only humans could truly harness its power, and with that power, humanity would not just survive, they would thrive, leading the galaxy into an age of enlightenment and unity. The rise of humanity. As the scepter hummed with newfound energy, Captain Elena Rios and her crew stood in awe, watching as its power surged through the planet. The once lifeless wasteland around them began to transform. The skies cleared, and a vibrant, golden light bathed the desolate land. From beneath the cracked earth, plants began to grow, and rivers flowed once more. It was as if the planet itself had awakened, its dormant energy reignited by the power of the scepter. But the transformation was not just physical. With the scepter's activation, a ripple spread across the galaxy. It was subtle at first, an almost imperceptible pulse that resonated through the very fabric of space. But it was enough. The ancient alien civilizations that had once dominated the stars, including the HFY themselves, began to sense it. Far from the planet where the scepter resided, the HFY High Council watched as their ancient creation activated for the first time in millennia. They had not expected this moment to come so soon, nor had they expected the humans to be the ones to unlock its true potential. But there was no mistaking it now. The power of the scepter was alive, and it was tied to humanity. The HFY had seen countless species rise and fall, each more advanced than the last, but none had ever matched humanity's resilience, their ability to adapt, to rise from the ashes of destruction, and to unite in the face of insurmountable odds. It was this, the scepter's creators realized, that made humanity unique. While other civilizations had sought power and control, humanity had learned to value connection and cooperation. It was that spirit that the scepter was meant to test, and humanity had passed. Now, with the scepter's power at their disposal, the crew of the Endeavor faced a choice greater than anything they could have imagined. The galaxy lay before them, a vast expanse of civilizations and possibilities, but also of dangers and conflicts. There were old empires, fractured worlds, and bitter enemies who would seek to challenge humanity's rise. Elena turned to her crew once more. Their eyes were filled with a mix of awe and resolve, but there was no doubt in their minds. Humanity had been given a chance, and it was a chance they would not squander. "We need to be the example," Elena said, her voice firm. "We can't use the scepter to dominate. We need to show the galaxy that we are here to unite, to help, and to lead not by force, but by choice." Her crew nodded in agreement. They had seen what could happen when power was wielded recklessly. It was up to them to prove that humanity was different, that their strength came not from their weapons, but from their will to protect those in need. The scepter offered them the ability to reshape the galaxy, to bring peace, and to heal the wounds of countless worlds. But the true test lay in how they chose to use it. They would forge alliances with the old and new civilizations alike, offering them the knowledge of the scepter not as a weapon, but as a tool for growth and prosperity. In the days that followed, Elena and her crew established contact with other species across the galaxy. It wasn't easy. Many viewed humanity with suspicion, fearful that they would abuse the power of the scepter for their own gain. Some even tried to steal the artifact, believing that its power could give them dominion over the stars. But humanity was united, and they fought back not with aggression, but with diplomacy, persuasion, and the unshakable belief that peace was possible. One by one, former enemies were swayed. The Crothar Empire, once a warlike species that had ravaged neighboring planets, was the first to extend a tentative hand of peace. They had sensed the power of the scepter, and rather than seek to conquer it, they chose to learn from humanity. Elena and her crew shared their knowledge of the scepter's true purpose and taught them how to use its energy to heal their dying worlds. Next, the Thalna, a race of ancient, reclusive beings who had withdrawn from the galaxy after a devastating war, agreed to enter negotiations. They, too, had been watching humanity's rise, and they too realized that the old ways of isolation and fear were no longer sustainable. Through their efforts, entire star systems that had once been on the brink of collapse were brought back to life, their ecosystems restored, and their inhabitants united in a new era of cooperation. As the years passed, humanity's influence spread, not through force, but through the example they set. The scepter became a symbol, not of power, but of responsibility. It was a reminder that the true strength of any civilization lay not in its ability to conquer, but in its willingness to help others rise. The HFY then, observing from the edges of the galaxy, could not have been prouder. They had created the scepter to challenge humanity, to test their worthiness, and humanity had passed with flying colors. No longer would they be a species bound to their world, but a beacon of hope for the galaxy. As Captain Elena Rios gazed out from the bridge of the Endeavor, she knew that this was only the beginning. The scepter had given humanity the power to shape the galaxy, but it was humanity's heart, its courage, its compassion, its will to unite, that would ensure the future was a bright one. The universe, once a place of division and strife, was now a place of hope, and it was humanity that had led the way. The galaxy had been watching. Now, it would follow. And thus, the scepter had fulfilled its true purpose, not as a weapon of destruction, but as a symbol of humanity's unique place in the universe. The Age of Unity. Years passed, and the ripple effect of humanity's rise spread throughout the galaxy. Under the stewardship of Captain Elena Rios and her crew, humanity became a central figure in galactic affairs, but not through dominance. Instead, they had become the great mediators, diplomats, and healers. The galaxy that had once been fractured and filled with warring factions was slowly coming together, united by the shared knowledge of the scepter and the ideals that humanity stood for. The scepter continued to serve as a tool, but its purpose was no longer to control. It had become a symbol of cooperation and progress. Its power, now spread across multiple worlds, was harnessed not for war, but to heal the scars of centuries-old conflicts, to terraform barren planets, and to provide limitless energy to those in need. Through the scepter, humanity had built alliances and trade routes, facilitating the sharing of resources and technology. But more importantly, it allowed for the exchange of ideas, cultures, and aspirations. The Crothar Empire, once fierce warriors known for their brutal conquests, now worked side by side with humanity in research and innovation. They had learned that true strength was in unity, not in conquest. The Thalna, a reclusive and highly intellectual species, began to actively engage in galactic politics, sharing their ancient knowledge and philosophy to help shape a better future for all. But as the galaxy came together, a new challenge emerged, one that would test humanity's resolve like never before. Far beyond the reaches of the known galaxy, in a forgotten corner of space, a new threat had begun to stir. The Calrath, a long-lost and ancient species thought to be extinct, had awakened from their millennia of isolation. The Calrath were known for their ruthless ways, their insatiable hunger for expansion, and their ability to manipulate dark matter itself. The Calrath's return was no mere rumor. A fleet of ships, dark and massive, had been detected moving through deep space. Their technology was beyond anything the galaxy had seen, capable of warping the very laws of physics. Their motivations were unclear, but one thing was certain: they were coming, and they were not interested in peace. The galaxy, still rebuilding from its many previous conflicts, now faced a new existential threat. The scepter could provide immense power, but even its abilities might not be enough to stop the Calrath, who wielded a form of dark energy that could unravel entire star systems. Humanity's leadership was once again put to the test. The Galactic Council, an organization formed by various species, including humans, met in emergency session. Representatives from every corner of the galaxy gathered in the Grand Hall, their faces filled with anxiety. The Calrath were unlike any enemy they had ever faced. They were not just conquerors, they were destroyers. But as the leaders debated, Elena stood at the center of the room, her voice unwavering. She knew that the strength of humanity had always been its spirit, its ability to adapt, to overcome impossible odds, and this time, they would have to stand together, not just as allies, but as something more. "We can defeat them," Elena said, her words ringing with conviction, "but we can't do it alone. We must unite not just our forces, but our hearts. The scepter is powerful, but it's not just about power. It's about what we choose to do with it. The room fell silent, her words echoing in the minds of the assembled species. For the first time in history, it was clear that the galaxy's greatest strength lay not in its technology or military might, but in its unity and its resolve to protect what they had built together. The next few days were critical. The scepter, in all its magnificence, was not a weapon. It had never been intended to be used as one. But humanity had learned that its power was not just about reshaping worlds, it was about reshaping minds. The key to defeating the Calrath lay not in outmatching their technology, but in outlasting their will. Elena's plan was simple. Humanity would rally every civilization in the galaxy to defend their homes. But this time, the battle would not be fought with weapons alone. It would be a battle of unity, strategy, and resolve. Humanity would offer the galaxy an alternative to the Calrath's destruction, an alternative that was rooted in peace and cooperation, rather than fear and domination. For the first time, the scepter was used to unify the galaxy on a scale never seen before. Its power reached across countless light years, sending a message to every corner of the galaxy. It was not a message of war, but one of hope, a rallying cry to those who still believed in the possibility of peace. The battle with the Calrath was not without sacrifice. There were lives lost, worlds destroyed, and fleets shattered in the initial wave of Calrath assaults. But as humanity led the charge, the power of the scepter was wielded in ways no one had imagined. It did not simply fight back, it showed the Calrath something they had never seen before. The Calrath had been a race of isolation and destruction, existing solely to expand and conquer. But humanity, with the help of their allies, demonstrated that the true strength of life lay in its diversity and ability to adapt. It was not the scepter's raw power that defeated the Calrath, but the conviction of the many civilizations who chose to stand together, driven by the belief that there was more to life than conquest. As the Calrath fleet retreated, broken and defeated, Elena looked out at the stars, feeling both the weight and the promise of the future. Humanity had once again proven its place in the galaxy, but this time, it was not through destruction, it was through cooperation, compassion, and the unshakable belief that unity was their greatest weapon. The scepter had served its purpose, not as a tool of war, but as a beacon of what could be achieved when different peoples came together. The galaxy had been tested, and it had passed, not because of its technology or its might, but because of its heart. And so, the Age of Unity began, a new era where the galaxy was no longer divided by borders or fear, but bound together by the common goal of peace. And it was humanity, once again, that led the way. The legacy of unity. The defeat of the Calrath was a turning point for the galaxy, but it was not the end of the journey. In the wake of the victory, the Galactic Council convened to discuss what came next. The galaxy had witnessed the power of unity, and humanity had shown them that even the greatest challenges could be met with hope, determination, and collaboration. As the members of the council gathered in the newly restored Galactic Citadel, Elena Rios stood before them, her gaze steady and filled with purpose. The scepter was now housed in a secure location, its power kept in check but still available to assist in times of need. It had fulfilled its purpose as a symbol of unity, but humanity knew that the true strength of the galaxy lay in its people, not in a single artifact. "We've proven something incredible," Elena said, her voice clear and resolute. "We've shown that unity is the strongest weapon we have, and that the future isn't something we fight for alone. We fight for each other." Her words resonated throughout the council chamber. Representatives from the Crothar Empire, the Thalna, and many other species nodded in agreement. For the first time in galactic history, the idea of shared responsibility and mutual respect had taken root in the hearts of all species. But the victory over the Calrath had also revealed something deeper, something humanity had known all along, but now had the responsibility to teach the rest of the galaxy. Power, no matter how great, could only be wielded responsibly when tempered with compassion, wisdom, and trust. Elena paused for a moment, allowing the weight of her words to sink in before continuing. "We've brought peace to our corner of the galaxy, but peace is never static. It must be nurtured, protected, and grown. Our greatest task now is to ensure that the ideals we fought for are passed on to the generations that follow. We cannot afford to rest, not when there are still places in the galaxy that need help." and species that need guidance. The galaxy had begun to rebuild, and not just in the physical sense. Species that had long been isolated from one another began to exchange ideas, share knowledge, and explore new frontiers of cooperation. Humanity's example inspired others to seek solutions to their problems not through war or domination, but through dialogue and understanding. One of the first steps in this new era was the establishment of the Unity Initiative, a program designed to facilitate cooperation between previously warring factions. The initiative offered resources, scientific expertise, and diplomatic support to any world or species willing to open themselves to the possibility of peaceful coexistence. Under this program, war-torn planets were rehabilitated, and once hostile empires began to form alliances based on shared goals of prosperity and peace. For the first time in recorded history, the galaxy saw an era of true collaboration, where the resources of each species, whether technological, intellectual, or cultural, were shared for the benefit of all. Even the HFY then, who had originally designed the scepter, took a step back and marveled at the unforeseen outcome of their creation. The scepter had not been a tool for conquest, but rather a catalyst for growth and cooperation. It had only unlocked the potential within humanity, and humanity, in turn, had unlocked the potential within the galaxy. Years turned into decades, and the age of division became a distant memory. Elena, now an elder stateswoman, reflected on how far they had come. The galaxy was a far different place than it had been during the time of the Calrath invasion. She stood before the great monument to unity that had been built in the center of the citadel, a structure that symbolized the new alliance between species, a testament to the strength that came from diversity and shared purpose. She was not alone. Standing by her side were representatives from the Crothar, the Thalna, and many others who had been part of this transformative journey. Together, they gazed at the stars, knowing that the future they had built would endure. It wasn't just the scepter that made this possible, Elena said softly. It was each one of us, in our own way, choosing to believe in something greater than ourselves, choosing to believe in the possibility of a future where all life, no matter how different, could stand together. Her words, spoken with quiet wisdom, carried across the galaxy. As the next generation of leaders and explorers took their places, the legacy of what had been achieved would be passed down to them, not as a set of instructions, but as a living testament to the power of unity. They were the next guardians of the galaxy, and they would carry the flame of peace and cooperation forward. In the years that followed, humanity continued to be a guiding light for the galaxy. The scepter, though still a powerful symbol, was no longer the focal point. It had always been humanity's heart, their ability to dream, to believe, and to work together. That was the true source of their power. As the centuries passed, new challenges would emerge, new forces of darkness, new conflicts, but the galaxy had learned an invaluable lesson. The future was not determined by those who sought to dominate, but by those who sought to understand. And as long as humanity remained steadfast in its commitment to unity, the galaxy would continue to thrive. The Age of Unity, birthed from the most unlikely of origins, would be the defining era of the galaxy and humanity. The species that had once been thought of as primitive and small had become the keystone in a new, harmonious age for all life in the universe. The stars no longer seemed distant and cold. They were a tapestry, woven together by the collective will of all those who had chosen to stand united. And in the vastness of it all, humanity had found its place, not as rulers, but as the stewards of a future that belonged to everyone. The dawn of a new era. Centuries had passed since humanity's pivotal role in bringing peace to the galaxy, and the Age of Unity had flourished. The story of the scepter, once an ancient alien artifact, thought to be a tool of power and control, had evolved into a symbol of everything humanity had taught the galaxy. No longer just a tale of the artifact's influence, it had become the legacy of the species who had used its power to unite, not divide, to heal, not destroy. Humanity's role as galactic stewards and mediators had remained, but new generations had risen with an understanding that their place in the stars was not just about responsibility but opportunity. The lessons learned during the Great War with the Calrath were passed down through the ages, and the new leaders of the galaxy saw their mission not as ruling, but as nurturing a galaxy where each species, no matter how different, was given a voice and a seat at the table. The Galactic Council was a living, evolving body, with representatives from every major species, all working to preserve the peace that had been so hard-earned. The scepter had become a relic of the past, stored in a vault on Earth, its power largely untapped. Yet its true purpose still served as a reminder of humanity's unique gift, the ability to bridge divides. However, new challenges were beginning to emerge, challenges that would again test humanity's ideals. Far from the bustling hubs of intergalactic trade, on the fringes of the galaxy, an ancient species, the Veilith, had begun to stir. Known for their advanced manipulation of quantum physics, the Veilith were a mysterious and elusive race. They had remained hidden for thousands of years, their cities lost to the sands of time. Legends said they had been the original creators of the scepter, but their connection to it had been lost when they mysteriously vanished from history. Now, they were returning. The Veilith had re-emerged from their long slumber, and they had brought with them a new form of technology, one that defied everything the galaxy knew about physics. Their quantum constructs were capable of warping time itself, creating fractures in reality. Entire fleets vanished into nothingness, and systems blinked out of existence, leaving only remnants of their past. The galaxy was once again facing an unknown enemy, but this time, the stakes were even higher. The Veilith had no interest in peace or unity. Their return was not a diplomatic mission but a declaration of reclaiming what they believed was theirs, the galaxy. As reports flooded in from across the stars, the Galactic Council convened in a hurry. Elena Rios, now a part of the eternal legacy of the past, had long since passed, but the values she had instilled in humanity remained. And though the scepter had not been used in generations, the time had come for its power to be called upon once more, not to fight, but to protect what had been built. The decision was clear: humanity, once again, would need to lead the charge, but this time, they would not face it alone. In a galaxy that had grown accustomed to cooperation, the threat of the Veilith united even those who had once been at odds. The Crothar Empire, the Thalna, the HFY then, and all the allies humanity had gathered over the centuries were ready to stand beside them. Captain Leah Owens, a descendant of the very human pioneers who had first activated the scepter, now stood at the helm of the flagship Aegis. The Aegis was humanity's most advanced ship, a vessel crafted with the combined knowledge of all galactic species, enhanced with the technology of the scepter but powered by a collective effort, not by any one race. Standing beside her were representatives of all the allied species. The Crothar General, Thok, his great battle-scarred frame towering over most in the room, nodded in agreement. The Thalna diplomat, Alira, a being of deep thought and calm, offered a reassuring smile, and the HFY then ambassador, Rketh, whose race had once tested humanity but now stood shoulder to shoulder with them, spoke last. Humanity has shown us that unity is the greatest force in the galaxy, and now, we shall face this threat together, Rketh said, his voice deep with conviction. The Veilith will learn what the galaxy has learned: no one species stands alone, we stand united. Leah's heart swelled with pride as she looked out at the council members, their faces filled with resolve. The Aegis would lead the charge, but humanity would not be alone in this fight. The galaxy would once again rise to defend the peace they had fought so hard to build. But the Veilith were no ordinary foe. Their mastery over time manipulation meant that every battle was unpredictable. Fleets would arrive and disappear within moments. Ships would blink in and out of existence. Entire formations torn apart by sudden temporal shifts. Yet, humanity's strength had always been their adaptability, their resilience in the face of uncertainty. In the first strike against the Veilith, the Aegis and its allied forces fought with everything they had, but the war was unlike any they had fought before. Time fractured as they clashed, entire battleships disappearing and reappearing in different places. But humanity, working together with their allies, began to develop strategies to counter the Veilith's time manipulation. They learned how to predict the fractures, how to fight not just in the present, but across timelines, weaving their attacks through the threads of reality. The scepter was activated once more, its energy channeled not as a weapon, but as a means to stabilize time and space. Humanity, with its allies, created a ripple in the fabric of the universe, a wave of unity that disrupted the Veilith's control over time. It was a gamble, one that could either restore balance or tear apart the very fabric of existence. As the battle raged on, the galactic forces fought with an unshakable unity. their resolve driven not by the need to conquer but by the desire to preserve the peace they had built. The Valeth, for all their power, were not prepared for the strength of a galaxy united. Finally, the tide turned. The Valeth, unable to withstand the overwhelming force of cooperation and strategy, began to falter. Their ships, once invincible in their control over time, began to fracture and collapse under the weight of the unified effort of the galaxy. In the final confrontation, it was not the scepter alone that ensured victory, but the unyielding spirit of the many species, bound together by a common cause. The Valeth were driven back, their temporal powers shattered, and peace was once again restored. As the galaxy celebrated its triumph, the legacy of humanity's role as the stewards of unity lived on. The scepter was returned to its vault, but its lessons were carried forward by all. The galaxy had faced a new threat, and once again, humanity had led them to victory, not through force, but through cooperation. The stars, once distant and cold, now shone brighter than ever before. The future was once again uncertain, but humanity and its allies knew one thing for certain: together, there was nothing they could not overcome. The age of unity had not ended. It had merely entered a new phase, one where the galaxy would continue to thrive, not as a collection of divided species, but as a united whole, and humanity would always stand as its guiding light. A new dawn of exploration. As the galaxy slowly returned to normal, the legacy of humanity's role in maintaining peace and unity continued to be a beacon of hope. Though the threat of the Valeth had been quelled, the stars remained full of untold mysteries, unexplored worlds, and unknown civilizations. With peace once again reigning throughout the galaxy, the desire to explore, to discover, and to expand their collective knowledge became the central goal of the newly unified galaxy. Humanity, ever the explorers, once again took the forefront in this new age of discovery. The Aegis and other ships from the Galactic Fleet were launched on missions of exploration, with a new objective in mind: not conquest, but understanding. Where once humanity had sought only to survive, now they sought to thrive and help others do the same. Their guiding principle was simple: explore to learn, explore to teach, explore to unite. Under the leadership of Captain Leah Owens, the first major mission of the new era was to explore the distant regions of the galaxy where civilizations had either not been reached or had been deliberately isolated due to past conflicts. The mission was called the Dawning Path, a journey not just into the unknown reaches of space, but into the heart of what it meant to be a galactic community. Leah and her crew embarked on their journey aboard the Aegis, now upgraded with the finest technology from every species in the galaxy. From the mind-enhancing devices of the Thalna to the temporal stabilization technology created by the HFY then, the Aegis was more than a ship, it was a symbol of cooperation. It was humanity's embodiment of a new age. Their first destination was the Irius Cluster, a series of planets located on the farthest fringes of known space. The Irius Cluster was home to a species known as the Dithra, a highly intelligent race that had been isolated for centuries, maintaining a secretive existence on their remote worlds. Until now, they had chosen to remain hidden, wary of the potential consequences of contact with other galactic species. The journey to the Irius Cluster took the Aegis through regions of space that were once thought impossible to traverse due to hazardous anomalies. Yet, as always, humanity's relentless drive to push boundaries and overcome obstacles led them through, with help from their allies. When the Aegis finally arrived at the Dithra homeworld, they were met with suspicion. As expected, the Dithra, with their technologically advanced but cautious nature, were wary of the newcomers, and their leaders demanded that the Aegis submit to a series of trials to prove they were not a threat. Leah, however, remained calm. She knew that the key to this mission was not to force their way through, but to show the Dithra that they had nothing to fear. "We come not to conquer, but to understand," Leah stated firmly during her first meeting with the Dithra Council, her words resonating across the chamber. "We seek nothing but the opportunity to share, to learn, and to build a future where we all thrive together." The Dithra leaders, though still uncertain, agreed to let the humans prove their intentions through a series of trials. These trials tested not just their technological capabilities, but their ability to work together with the Dithra. 4 weeks. The crew of the Aegis collaborated with the Dithra scientists to study their unique technologies. which involved the manipulation of energy on a quantum level that even the greatest minds of the galaxy had struggled to understand. During this time, the human crew learned more about the Dithra than they could have imagined. The Dithra, despite their advanced technology, had suffered greatly from a history of isolation, their distrust of outsiders stemming from ancient wounds. They had watched the rest of the galaxy grow, but had chosen to stay apart, fearful that any contact might bring more harm than good. Humanity, however, had shown them something they had never seen before, an unyielding belief in unity. The idea that the universe itself could be a greater place when its species worked together. Slowly but surely, the trials began to shift. The Dithra started to open up, not just to the technology and knowledge of the humans, but to their values, too. They saw firsthand that humanity didn't seek dominance but partnership. The Dithra began to share their quantum energy manipulation techniques, offering humanity new insights into energy and spacetime that could revolutionize not only their technology but their understanding of the universe. And with that breakthrough, the Dithra joined the Galactic Council, marking the beginning of a new era of exploration and cooperation. The Aegis and the crew had accomplished what many thought impossible. A new ally had been gained through patience, respect, and the shared pursuit of knowledge. The galaxy now had one more species with which to collaborate, and this new alliance brought with it the promise of further discoveries. The Aegis mission continued, now with an expanded purpose. No longer were they merely seeking new civilizations, they were teaching others how to thrive together. As the ship ventured further into the unknown, humanity carried the same ideals they had always embodied, that through exploration and cooperation, the galaxy could become something greater than the sum of its parts. The lessons humanity had learned, the power of unity, the value of understanding, the strength in diversity, would continue to guide them in their future missions. And with each new species they encountered, each new world they explored, humanity's reputation as the stewards of peace and collaboration only grew stronger. The galaxy, vast and full of mysteries, was no longer an intimidating expanse to be feared. It was a shared home, a place for all species to grow, to learn, and to build a future together. And humanity, with its boundless curiosity and unwavering belief in the potential for unity, would continue to lead the way. The stars, once a distant and unknown realm, had become a symbol of possibility. For in each new discovery, in each new alliance, humanity knew that the future was theirs to shape, and together, there was no limit to what they could accomplish. The Age of Unity was no longer just a chapter in history, it was the way forward, and humanity was at the heart of it, a shining example to the galaxy of what could be achieved when species come together, not as conquerors, but as partners in a shared journey through the stars. The seeds of tomorrow. The success of the Aegis mission to the Eris cluster was a landmark in the history of the galaxy. It was a clear demonstration of the power of unity, the ability to reach across vast divides, and the willingness to embrace the unknown. The Dithra, once isolated and distrustful, were now full members of the Galactic Council, and the galaxy's collective knowledge had expanded exponentially with the sharing of their quantum energy technologies. Yet, the journey of cooperation and discovery was far from over. The galaxy was vast, and there were still many more unknowns waiting to be explored. The Aegis continued its journey into the farthest reaches of space, bringing with it not just technology and diplomacy, but the ideals that had carried humanity so far. The mission was not merely to conquer new frontiers or to collect new technologies, it was to weave a tapestry of understanding across the stars. Every new species they encountered, every new world they visited, added a thread to that grand design. Captain Leah Owens had become a symbol of this new age of exploration. Her leadership had set the course not just for her crew, but for the future of galactic relations. Yet, even she knew that there would be challenges ahead. The galaxy had moved from one of constant conflict to one of fragile peace. But peace was a living thing, it needed to be nourished, and it needed to be protected. One such challenge was emerging from the depths of space. A strange, enigmatic signal had been detected from a region known as the Void Expanse, a vast, uncharted area at the edge of the galaxy where few ships dared to venture. The signal was unlike anything anyone had ever encountered. It was not technological in nature, but biological. It was a pattern, a language of sorts, but no one knew what it meant or who was sending it. The council convened once again, with every species sending representatives to discuss the implications of the signal. The Aegis was called upon to investigate. The mission was not an invasion or even a negotiation, it was a first contact. But as always, humanity's approach was one of caution and patience. The message was clear, they were not seeking conflict. They were seeking understanding. As the Aegis entered the void expanse, the crew could feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on them. The region was devoid of stars, a vast emptiness that stretched on for light years. The signal grew stronger the deeper they traveled, and yet it remained indecipherable. It pulsed with a rhythm, a pattern, but it was beyond the understanding of the crew's technologies. Days turned into weeks, and still, no answers came. But Leah Owens remained resolute. We will find a way to understand. We are explorers, not conquerors. Let the signal guide us, not our fear. The crew worked tirelessly, using every method at their disposal to decode the signal. But it wasn't until they made a surprising discovery that the answer became clear. The signal, it turned out, was not coming from a civilization. It was biological in origin, something living, something ancient, and something far more complex than anyone had imagined. What they found was a massive, organic construct, floating in the emptiness of the void expanse, a being so vast it was beyond comprehension. It was not a ship, but a life form, ancient and unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. The signal they had been tracking was its communication system, a form of expression that transcended conventional language. It was a creature of thought, of energy, and of time itself. The Aegis crew was faced with a dilemma. How do you communicate with something so alien, so unlike anything in the galaxy, that its very existence challenged everything humanity understood about life and intelligence? The answer, as always, came from the unity of the crew. They realized that their approach needed to be different from anything they had done before. They could not rely solely on technology or logic, they needed to connect with the creature on a more fundamental level. Leah Owens, with the help of the Dithra scientists who had joined the mission, came up with a solution. They used the quantum energy techniques the Dithra had shared, modifying them to create a bridge between their minds and the creatures. It was a dangerous and unprecedented procedure, but it was the only way to understand the being. The moment they made contact, the crew was overwhelmed by an experience unlike anything they had ever known. It was as if they were no longer individuals, but part of a greater consciousness, a sea of thought, memories, and understanding that spanned eons. The creature, known as the Sivith, was ancient, older than any civilization in the galaxy, and its mind was vast and incomprehensible. Yet, within that vastness, there was a thread of communication that they could follow. Through the connection, the crew learned that the Sivith was not a being of malice or domination. It was a living entity that had wandered the galaxy for millennia, learning and observing, but it had lost its ability to communicate after its civilization had fallen into ruin. The signal they had received was the Sivith's attempt to reach out, to re-establish a connection with the galaxy. It wasn't seeking to conquer, it was seeking to share its knowledge. Through a delicate process, the crew of the Aegis helped the Sivith reconnect with the larger galactic community. The creature shared its knowledge with them, tales of the galaxy's ancient past, of civilizations that had risen and fallen long before humanity had even begun to dream of the stars. It showed them how life had evolved across the galaxy, how the fabric of space-time had been shaped, and how every living being was part of a grand, cosmic cycle. The knowledge the Sivith shared revolutionized the galaxy's understanding of life, the universe, and time itself. It was a gift beyond measure, but it came with a price. The Sivith could not remain in the galaxy, its vast mind too fragile and ancient to survive the strain of contact. In its final moments, the Sivith offered its consciousness to the galaxy, sharing the wisdom of ages before it faded into the void once more. For humanity, this was yet another moment in their journey. The knowledge the Sivith had shared was priceless, but it was not the end of the story. The galaxy had learned that no matter how old or vast a civilization might be, the pursuit of knowledge and understanding was something that could never end. With the Sivith's knowledge, humanity and its allies turned their attention to the future. The lessons they had learned from their exploration, their encounters, and their understanding of the galaxy's deepest mysteries would guide them for eons to come. The age of unity had brought peace, but the age of exploration had just begun. The stars, once distant and untouchable, were now within reach. not just as places to conquer, but as realms to explore, to understand, and to protect. And humanity, with its allies, would lead the way into this new era, knowing that there was always more to discover, always more to learn, and always more to share with the galaxy. For the future of the galaxy was not just one of survival, but one of growth that would be achieved, not through power or domination, but through knowledge, unity, and the endless pursuit of understanding. The seeds of tomorrow had been planted, and the galaxy's journey had only just begun.